How do you think the two cities compare, New York versus Auckland?
They just don't compare, do they? There's a thing with world cities that you can't compare them to anything else but other world cities.
So, Stanley Henry,
Yes.
who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
We're both here in New York.
Yeah.
What brings you here?
Well, we're doing a bit of feasibility for our company, seeing if it's the right move for us. And we're here for 10 weeks.
10 weeks?
Yeah.
That's a bit extravagant, isn't
It is a little bit extravagant. It is definitely a bit extravagant.
You really need 10 weeks to, I mean, I guess you do, right? It's a big city.
It's one of those things that, like, is this the right move for us?
Yeah.
It's a big decision. And so we thought we'd give it a good shot, give it everything it deserves. Yeah. How about yourself?
And so you came here last week, right?
We came here last week.
Yeah.
Day 7 for us now.
And look at the weather. So, yeah, we're here for 5 days. We've just seen New York Police Department's real-time crime centre and command centre, which was awesome. I've probably talked about that for 12 years, so it's actually good to see it.
Yeah. What's it compare like to New Zealand?
It's really good. Like, obviously, it's a bigger city, and there's a lot more. I mean, I think they can see 70,000 cameras here, right? So that's better than Auckland. But a lot of similarities. Saw Lieutenant Michael, and he was awesome and very friendly and very giving of information. So it was really good. So and also another vendor. Just been here seeing a vendor the day before, and that was really good too. So that's great.
Yeah. Some opportunities, you think, maybe?
Yeah, there are. We're working with, so tomorrow we get on an Uber and we go over to see the company that basically supplies New York Police Department with all their cameras and systems, and they want to have a talk about some stuff. So who knows? We'll see where it goes.
Cool. Yeah, love it.
Yeah,
awesome.
How about you? What are you? So what was the first media thing that you saw in New York that made you really want to come here and everything?
So, I mean, growing up watching, all the movies that New Yorkers in all of them. That's where the first love of New York come from. And I mean, the culture piece, the music, that was all a big part of it. And then both Claire and I have been here on our own at different times. And we both fell in love with the city. Just the energy, the people. We're big city people, so we love it. And I remember when I first came here in 2014, I was here on my own. A friend was with me for some of it. And I went to some bars and restaurants and I saw all the stuff and I fell in love. And I was going to move to, I met a bar owner who was like, come work for me 3 months on, come on and then do a visa run.
Cool.
And come back and you just earn tips. He's like, you'll make $400 a night in tips.
Really?
Because it's like $20 cocktails. They get paid 20% tip. That's $4. And they'll make 100 cocktails in a night.
Wow. Okay.
So he was like, you'll make $2,000 a week, easy. And you can help me with the bar and all that. So I went home from that trip, went to my boss, went to quit to run off with the circus. And he then dangled a carrot in front of me, which was a $20,000 pay rise to another bigger job in Sydney. Wow. And so I took that safe option. Cool. But ever since I was like, I've got to get back to New York.
Yeah, it's cool.
And so 5 years ago, Claire and I put on our 5-year plan. At year 5, let's get to New York.
Yeah, fantastic.
But we're 4 years in. So we got there a year early.
Okay. That'll be good. So, but I mean, you're making it happen now, right? 10 weeks and beautiful weather. I mean, look at the weather. We haven't had the best weather in New Zealand this year, have we? Just let's be honest.
We were saying that
nice to have this.
This is the first sort of weather like this I've had in 2 years.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. And I know. I mean, the weather. So I think. So we leave on Friday. I think the weather's raining on Saturday, Sunday, but I'm sure you'll be here. You'll see the whole thing. You might even go into the snow. I don't know. It only snows here apparently in rare conditions, but if it does, how cool would that be?
We'll definitely get to the cold. By the end of October, they start to do all the Christmassy stuff. Yep. So we got Halloween, we got Thanksgiving and all that sort of stuff coming up. So we're really looking forward to that.
You've got to love America for all those celebrations, right? They totally get into it.
Exactly. And this is not your first time to the US. You've lived here.
Yeah, I lived in Silicon Valley for 2 years. Loved that. I came to New York when I was 22. Really? And I fell in love with it, right? So it was a boys' trip, and we did 9 different states, and
amazing.
2 in a month. And I just the, as you say, the energy of New York, the adrenaline, the place never sleeps. I've loved, so probably New York and Rome are my 2 favorite places in the world. And I just, it's really nice being back here. And I brought over Adam, first time for him to New York, so he can get a bit of a feel of it.
How's he finding it?
He's loving it. He's loving it. But though, like you said before, it's everything he's seen on the movies he's seen here, right? Because New York features highly. And then so we go from here. We go to Louisville, Kentucky. I'm on that independent board of consult
Yeah.
with security specifiers. So we're doing that for another few days, and then we head back to New Zealand, where hopefully it's going to stop raining by the time we get back.
Well,
so yeah,
let's hope so.
So other than you and Claire being here, we're both living in Auckland at the moment. How do you think the two cities compare, New York versus Auckland?
Like they just don't compare, do they?
Yeah.
I think like I love Auckland. Like I grew up there. I love the city. I love being back there. But New York's just There's a thing with world cities that you can't compare them to anything else but other world cities. They're like Claire and I both lived in Tokyo. We've both lived in London, and New York compares to them.
Yeah.
Trying to compare it to Auckland is like trying to compare Auckland to, not even Cambridge. Like it's just not the same. Auckland is a city, but there's a difference when a city gets so densely populated like New York that, we went to a bagel store the other day and you had to wait an hour to get a bagel. And it was pouring down with rain. And people were just, people were just standing outside in the rain waiting for a bagel.
Waiting for a bagel. The bagels are amazing here.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
And you go out, like we're in West Village, and you walk out at the apartment at night, and you walk around the restaurants, and every single one's full. Tuesday night.
Yeah, I know.
Both cities. So that sort of stuff, the energy that you have that you just can't get in New Zealand. That's probably for me the thing I love the most.
No, and I mean, what, 8 million people, 8.5 million people. I'm not sure what New York's up to, but you need that critical mass of people to make that energy happen.
Yeah, we talked about how. So this morning we walked to Times Square from down in downtown where we were from, or where we were staying, and I said we probably walk past almost the population in New Zealand.
Absolutely. I know.
We definitely walk past the population of Auckland in a matter of 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And that there is why we're here.
Yeah.
And why, for Kiwi businesses, I think coming to New Zealand, coming to the New York or America, it's just a size that we can't comprehend.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
How does that feel for you when you think about expanding to other countries, like just that scale?
Oh, I've always loved the United States of America for 330 million people on their back doorstep, right? So, and I think they take that for granted a bit, whereas for us, it's a huge market. Right?
Yeah.
But it's really funny. I love America and Americans.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't know where New Zealand is, and they kind of confuse us with Australia and all that. So I'll often say to them, live in Auckland, and Auckland's the New York of New Zealand, right? And they go, cool, get it, right? And then as soon as I've said that, I'm like, it's not really, right? It's like years apart. But as you say, the energy, the critical mass, the people.
Yeah.
But yes, in terms of coming from a New Zealand company to US, probably New York would probably be one of the hardest places to start in the IT side of things. It may be easier on your side.
Yeah.
But it's more Silicon Valley, it's more other states. I still think what New Zealanders maybe don't understand is there's 50 different, like United States of America is not just one country. It's 50 different states.
Yeah.
AKA 50 different countries, different rules, different laws, different cultures. So
so
I think we're probably a little bit naive sometimes to think we'll just crack the US and it'll be really easy. And
I totally agree with that. Like even coming over here ourselves, like we're pretty understanding that it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be easy.
Yep.
We don't think that in this 10 weeks we can just sign a bunch of clients. Like we actually think if we signed one, that would be outrageous.
Yep.
Like that would be well and truly above what we expect. Our goal here is just to meet people. Just to see how the lay of the land is. Because it's hard. Like everyone's hustling here, everyone's here to win. What I do find though is that Americans are quite willing to meet with you.
Yeah.
And I've heard that from a lot of people, and actually all the people I've reached out to, they'll give you the first coffee for free. Almost. Whereas like in New Zealand, people are a little bit more reserved. Why do you want to meet me? Why are we hanging out? What do you want from me? I think Americans are always like, we'll do one. If it's not a fit, I'll never talk to you again. Which I quite like that culture.
I think what I love about America and Americans is they're very curious about New Zealand too, right? They don't really know where we are. They like our accent. They're, we're innovative. We're sort of almost that small country syndrome where we think the rest of the world's better, even if it's not. So we work harder. And I think they're quite intrigued by us. So that often opens the door, right?
I met a girl today actually who's had the same sentiment. I did a podcast with her. And she said that she was a Kiwi. She's living here. And she works for a big advertising agency. And she was taking 2 hours out of her day to come do a podcast with us.
Cool.
And she was like, it doesn't matter. Like, we are so much more efficient as Kiwis than the Americans. She said, because we just work because of what you just said. Like, we think we come from this small little place we have to try harder than everyone else. And so she's just like, what my normal is is there exceptional.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I just deliver more.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite cool.
Yeah. Have you spent much time in Europe? Like you were in Europe when you started your career, right?
No, I haven't actually worked in Europe, but I've been there.
Yeah. So I was lucky when I was at Cisco that I supported Europe out of London, and I got to fly around, and I noticed the smaller countries, the Hollands, the Nordic countries and the Portugal, and they had because they were smaller, they had to work harder than the bigger countries, and the Frances and the Germanys and the, and I often think New Zealand's a bit the same. Like we're 4.5, 5 million people, the bottom of the world. Like we just think we just have to work harder. We have to be more innovative. And we have a little bit. I've always thought New Zealand, and I think I said it in our previous podcast with you. I think we've got a little bit of an inferiority complex. But it has a positive benefit because it makes us work a bit harder. So
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I've actually, there's a bunch of Kiwi businesses coming over now at the same time as us. Who have all got that same attitude. And so I've been talking to a few of them and going to catch up with a few of them in New York, and they're all the same. They all have this little bit of we need to work harder and show everyone, and they come to New York ready to kill it. Whereas I think because they have that attitude, they will absolutely destroy whatever they try to do.
Correct.
Which is quite cool.
And I noticed the New Zealand accent works better on the East Coast than it does on the West Coast, because the West Coast has heard a little bit more. So you can use anything to your advantage, and let's use the accent, guys.
One thing I found here, actually, we were quite surprised with. Maybe it's just West Village where we are at the moment, but no one's even turned an eye at us with our accent.
Really?
And we kind of thought, you know what? Everyone around us has an accent. Like, there's very few Americans around us. And so we actually noticed that, we're not that special, actually. Because you come over and everyone told us, everyone's going to be like, you Kiwis or Australians or whatever. But actually, everyone's just almost ignored us, just been like,
And you haven't used the "Do you know who I am" thing?
No, well, not yet, but we probably will try it.
It doesn't work for anyone. So Stan, understanding you're going to be doing quite a bit of networking in your head. So do you want to chat about the importance of networking and how you do it? And
look, networking is everything, I think. Even what we do as a business of putting out content and building brand, I think it's just an extension of networking. I think when I first met you, that's usually what I use as a sales pitch, actually, is that all we do is digital networking. We just put out content to help have the same conversations we'd have at a networking event, but online. And so when we're here in New York, doing networking and meeting people, it's just it's the only thing I know how to do, I think, in terms of building my business.
It's massive.
I think so. For me, it's huge. There's a few events that we want to go to. Ad Weeks here in late October, which is the big advertising conference in the world.
Cool.
So it's about a week-long conference.
What's that called?
Ad Week.
Ad Week.
Yeah, so it's essentially advertising week. So we want to go to that. There's a few different things going on. And there's a bunch of little conferences that we want to go see, but also just small business networking groups that we know. Small businesses in America are $10 million turnover.
I know.
So it's a whole nother world.
I can remember when I first moved to Europe, and they said, Scotty, we want to make you in charge of SMB. And I said, what's SMB? Small to medium business. I said, please define that for me. And they went, businesses from 0 to 1,000. And I went, well, that's you pretty much just define New Zealand, right? So I'm good with that.
So
as you say, the small here is big in terms of New Zealand. So
I've got a friend, a colleague in New Zealand who does a lot of business coaching with American clients. And he has a client here who's like, look, we're just a small family-run business. We're nothing too big. We turn over about $2 billion. Our biggest client in New Zealand is one of the largest companies in New Zealand. That's what they turn over. This is a small family-run business.
That's why United States of America is great, because it's just so big, right? And then you've got Europe, that buys off them. I would mirror your sentiment in terms of the importance of networking. And I mean, people do business with people who they enjoy doing business with. And you don't get that sense unless you're actually networking, right? Like, I like this person, I trust this person, I want to do business with this person. It's all about trust. It's all about liking who you're doing business with. And you can't get that as easily over Zoom or Teams. I know that video conferencing is great, but you need to pick up all those cues and body language things, and whether you like the person, whether you trust them. So
I totally agree with you. And that's probably one thing I've noticed knowing you over the last few years is your relationships with key stakeholders in the industry as well has been super important for you. And that you have not just made them as strategic stuff, you've made them as genuine relationships. You and Bush, for instance, have good mates. Seeing you guys hang out, although he's also part of your board and a big mentor, I think, as well.
And Mike's the same, right? He's all of the troops loved him because he's just a people person, and he's brilliant at it. Even being here, so there's meetings we had yesterday and meetings we had today where there were things that came out in the meetings that you just can't get on an email or on a Zoom, right? Just little things that you notice, and it helps with the research, it helps with the business development. So we're really looking forward. We're heading over to Teterboro, which is the airport that Sully was told he could go to before he landed in the Boston River.
That's
but company called Secure Watch 24, and just the synergy and the picking up on the values and the vibes from Bill. You just can't get that unless you're in the room with them, right? Yeah. So we're really looking forward to that and meeting the rest of the company.
And tell me, what is the real purpose of the trip to US? Because it's not just New York.
Yeah.
We've actually got some networking and some events on. So
we have. Yeah, so after we leave New York, we head to Louisville, Kentucky, which I've never been to. Apparently lots of nice whiskey, so I will be sampling some of that. And there is a conference every year called Consult, and it's run by a guy called Ray Coulomb, who runs Security Specifiers. And the conference is great. So it's where they bring a whole lot of independent consultants together, with a whole lot of vendors and manufacturers, just so they network. So it's a networking conference, so that both sides know what the other side's making and what the other side's doing. So, and we get to drink whiskey.
No,
so I'm kind of,
you can't say no to that.
He had me after whiskey.
Yeah.
So, so looking.
Are you speaking of whiskeys? Is there a particular whiskey in Kentucky that you like? Are you much of a Kentucky whiskey person? Or a Scotch?
Ray Coulomb, who runs Consult, introduced me to Angel's Envy. I'm a bit of an Angel's Envy man. And then Mike Bush introduced me to Hibiki. And then Adam is there's this whole Scottish whiskey thing going on, Avalor or whatever. We had some of that last night. Quite a few nice whiskey bars here in New York, so I encourage any New Zealander to sample those when they come over. But whiskey's good.
Kentucky has I used to work in hospitality, and I used to bosses and everything, whatever. Obviously the Kentucky whiskey scene it's the whiskey scene of the US. But they have a lot of people in New Zealand think of bourbon as Jim Beam. Or they'll actually think of it as Jack Daniels, which is a Tennessee whiskey, so it's a whole nother thing. But when you get some real good Kentucky whiskey, it is you can't even describe what it is.
Is that right?
Just this. It's so smooth.
Would there be one you'd recommend going to Kentucky?
Yeah. So, look, the one I'd recommend, which is Stag Junior, is still a mainstream. It's a mainstream whiskey. It's about $2.50 a bottle, so it's not cheap. I think in the US,
$2.50 US a bottle.
Nah, New Zealand. So about 120, 150 something like that. That's in Kentucky whiskey, it's probably like mid-tier.
Nice.
But it's every time I've got a bottle at home in Auckland, and every time I've given people a taste of it, they're like, "What is this gold? What is it?" So I'm a little bit jealous that you. I don't even really drink anymore. It's not really a thing I do a lot of. But if I would love to go to Kentucky just for that experience. So that's quite cool. You're getting to do some networking there. How long are you in Kentucky for then?
We're in Kentucky till next Monday, so we're there 4 or 5 days, and we'll head back to New Zealand.
What does a successful trip for you guys look like?
We're pretty much there already. So I think the New York experience has been great. Meeting the New York Police Department, the Real-Time Crime Center. Adam, COO of SaferCities, is actually up on the panel at the Control Conference. And what's really interesting is he's the young consultant, and there's a couple of the older consultants. So it was what's attracted you into consulting and the industry, and trying to work out how to make the industry exciting and to attract younger players. The same with anything. So we're looking forward to that.
How's he feeling about it? Pretty confident?
Really good, really good. I've suggested he might want to speak a bit slower than what we normally do in New Zealand. That's one thing I noticed when I dialed into our team meeting on Monday. As New Zealanders, we speak fast. And I'd spent 3 or 4 days before that in another part of the US, and you just hear the speed of the English language, and sometimes we need to slow down. So he's telling me that he can do that because of the wonderful podcast he does with you guys. So he has. So
we'll take credit for that. Thank you. Thanks, Adam. So my last sort of question for you is, New York has a reputation for chewing people up, spitting it out again. But America in general, especially for foreigners coming here, it's a land of the free, sort of home of the brave sort of thing, and there's a land of opportunities, but it's not easy. So do you think, for Kiwi business owners or people looking at this podcast, what sort of people, what sort of things, what type of people is this good for?
Yep.
Like, what sort of people should go after this? And two, what's some things that they should think about when they do it to be pitfalls, I guess?
Yep. What sort of people should go after this? I think any New Zealander who wants to be innovative and break into a bigger market. I think New Zealanders do well in the United States, and the United States likes New Zealanders. There's one thing I noticed when I was here, though, and that sometimes can catch out New Zealanders is that people from the United States will often not say no, but they won't say yes either. You can spend quite a while building a relationship, and it's like it's going great, and they love us, and they're giving us all the good vibes.
Yeah.
But have they said yes? Well, no. Have they said no? They haven't said no, right? But they often won't say yes, but they won't say no.
Yeah.
And so that happened to us in an earlier time, and I got told from another American, it's like, well, if you say no to someone and then a year later your company ends up being the next biggest thing, and that person's boss says, weren't they here a year ago and you said no? Like, dude, what were you doing? They're obviously the next best thing. Why did you say no, right? So they don't want to say no, but they don't want to say yes either. So so sometimes I think, I don't know, if you do business in Australia, it's like you'll know pretty quickly, yes, no. New Zealand, yes, no, right? So you often won't hear the no's here.
Okay.
And you just got to be a little bit wary of that.
Interesting.
Interesting. And so that caught us out as well.
That's interesting. I think that so far my dealings with American businesses outside of being in America, you're right. I haven't heard a lot of no's, but I've heard yes quick.
Okay.
But you're right. Then if it wasn't a yes, it was a nothing.
Yes. There you go. Yep.
So I think you're right, actually, because I actually talk the other way. If I often think Americans are quite easy to make a decision, but then maybe what they're doing is they're making a yes fast.
Yeah.
But maybe it's like a hell yes or a no.
Yeah.
For them, but they just don't say no.
Yeah. I know. And there was another thing I learned when I actually lived here, which I can't say on the podcast, right? But let's say that the first word's grin and the second word starts with F, right? So let's just say grin expletive, right? And I went, cool, what's a grin expletive? And they went, well, Scotty, a grin expletive is when, sure, Stanley, absolutely, buddy, we will do that with you, right?
Yeah.
And they've got no intention of doing it, right? And so I think sometimes that happens a bit, changes in different states, but you just got to be a bit wary. I mean, Americans are so friendly. They're so social.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people, but sometimes they'd rather tell you that and than no. So just got to be a little bit.
That's interesting.
A little bit.
That's actually something I keep in mind because, like, I've got rose tinted glasses on it. Yeah. And I need to keep that in mind because I will get taken for a ride because my rose tinted glasses at the moment.
You've worked all around the world, though, right?
I've worked all around the world.
Yeah, you're probably.
But I am also overwhelmed and in awe of the city that I think if if you hadn't said that to me now, like, it would have taken me a week or two to have been hit a bit from people before I was like, oh, of course. Yeah. But right now, I'm just thinking that's good to know because I think if I don't, like, my rose tinted glasses are going to make me think, oh, this guy loves me. That's so good.
There's a lot of chemicals going on here, right? It's a beautiful city. It's nice weather. People are friendly. So you do have to be. You do have to be a little bit wary. Yeah. It probably took me 6 to 12 months of living here to sort of calm down and work that out. So,
which is why we're here for so long.
10 weeks. So,
exactly.
Exactly. Well, hey, so thank you, Stan. It's great to bump into you.
Yeah, likewise.
I think
this is great.
Catch up.
It's been awesome to see you. And it's so cool, actually, to be in a city like this with you at the same time.
Yeah.
It's probably special, I think.
Yeah.
It is. The first time we met was on a video call.
Was it? It was too, during COVID. That's right. Yeah.
So from a video call to sitting in New York together,
that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's come a long way. And the next time I talk to you, you guys might have an office here.
Well, maybe, You might be able to work out of it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Very, very keen on that. Thanks very much.
Cool. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
See ya.